Oh, and I think I just need to turn this down. So yeah, moving and stretching, moving our bodies so that we can continue to move. That seems to be the most important thing in my life, and I think in a lot of other people's lives that are getting older. And by older, I mean, I don't know, older than 22. No, just kidding. Older than 40 or older than 50, older than 60. So the heat came on in our house today because it was so cold. So I am actually can take off my sweater right away. Let's inhale, open, reach out into space, get as big as you can, and exhale, just shake, 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 let it go. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. Blah, 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 blah. Relax your face, relax your neck, relax your throat. And again, big breath in, long, tall, radiating away from center, and then exhale, shake, 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 let it go. Shaking out any kind of excess tension, any kind of yucko, crapo that you can release. Inhale, open. And exhale, shake it out, bounce, shake, feeling the relationship of your body to the ground, right? So not only like if we go down, our body also is going to come back up, we hope, but like we can have this springy relationship where there's return of ground force that comes back up into our bodies. So it's not just, but it's down, up, a little bit of bounce. I think babies are the bounciest of humans. And then as we get older, maybe not so bouncy, but we can invite that in, that response of going down to rebounding, coming back up. Let's spiral, twist. Even if it's just a concept in your mind that, well, I'm going down, but I'm going to come back up. But we can also feel it, right? We can feel the desire for our body to return up. Spiraling, twisting, looking around behind you. Let's do it with a weight shift. So you're going to shift away from one foot and then shift away, spiraling. A little more Qigong version of this exercise with the weight shift and that spiral, looking all the way behind you. And then coming into center, opening up into an X, just contralateral movement. I'm going to go for a big step side. So I'm opening into this vertical plane and then reaching forward into the sagittal plane, which is right in front of me. So I'm moving from plane to plane. And then taking it to the back, same thing. Vertical plane, sagittal plane. Big weight shift. Lots of movement in your body. And you can look over your shoulder, see if you can see your foot. Good. And then come back in. Let's circle the shoulders, big circles, lubricating up your rotator cuff, but also the space underneath your scapula. So our scapula can really move on our back as I'm circling. There's a lot of mobility in there. And change direction up and over. Allowing this movement to sort of massage the lungs, massaging the heart. We're moving, getting any kind of surfaces in there that can differentiate to be smoother, more glidey. Good. And then coming in, let's do this thing for the hips. So just going to pull this rug forward. So you're going to start with your feet together, and it's going to be toes, heel, toes, heel, toes, and then come back. Toes, heel, toes, heel, toes, as many times as it needs to. So you're turning out, turning in, out, then coming back. It's not so much a right or wrong. It's just that we want to get this relationship of movement into our leg, into our core, into our body, of opening and closing out to the side, open, close. So this we could also look at as being really a hip health exercise, right? Getting that really beautiful movement in, is it really beautiful? I don't know, in that hip socket, which is a ball and socket joint. And a lot of people, especially as they age, that is one of the weak areas, right? If we spend our whole life like this and then sitting a lot, we're not going to have a lot of integrity in that in the head of our femur, that knob up there. So just shake your butt for a second, inviting in integrity into your body. And then let's take it down to the floor and do a spiraling exercise. It's so funny. Up here, it's very warm. Down here, pretty cool down there on the floor. And we're going to come down and just bend your knees, spiral one way and then the other way. I can see that my clothes and the mat kind of match. And in this darkness, it's not as visible as if I was wearing something brighter on my lower body so that you could really actually see what I'm doing. However, what I would say is in this class, it's better if you just do. You don't need to see and do it perfectly. Just do, get the idea of it and feel into it. I'm going to spiral a little deeper each time, taking it around, looking behind me, not going all the way down to the floor yet. Just getting a spiral, massaging through my butt as I roll from side to side. And then I'm going to take it all the way down to the floor, surrender into the floor. I'm going to stay on this side and I'm just going to ripple sort of through my spine, arching and curling or sending a wave from my tail up through my head, letting this ripple undulation wake up the spine, bringing the fluid into a rippling pattern or an undulating pattern. And then taking it over to the other side, same thing. Let's see if I change this. The lighting will shift. That's better. Good. Let's take it over to the other side and the same thing. Surrender down and come up. So in this version, the way that I'm doing is kind of initiating with my pelvis. So I'm sending this wave through my body, rippling from my tail to my head. Or it could just be arch and curl. That would also be fine. One has a little more flow with the rippling, more head-tail connection. Well, maybe, maybe not. So really depending on where you are in your movement career, whatever that is. Let's bring it back up. And we're going to do this walk on our sit bones. So it's going to be, I'm going to take it along my mat. I'm just walking forward, mobilizing, again, that hip socket and all that tissue around it, but also the whole spine, and then walking back, letting your body do whatever it wants. So we could try not to move our torso, or we can really let our torso move with it. Try it again, forward. Try it with barely moving your torso and just feeling what it is to really move from the hips, and then really getting the torso into the motion. And same thing going back, trying it with less mobility in the top and then with more. And just feeling how those each play out in your body. And then taking it in and down to the floor and massaging out your back, letting your knees drop one way and then the other. Let your legs really open through the middle so you're releasing your inner thighs, no extra tension, opening and closing, breathing. Ooh, let that exhale just release any extra tension in your body, any extra tension in your mind, softening into the floor, letting go. And let's take it a little deeper, just spiraling, letting your leg cross over. Breathing, touching the floor on the other side of your body. So for me, this really massages through my sacrum, my sacroiliac, and my glutes and my rotators a little bit. So if I'm curled up, it's not gonna, it'll get up, it'll massage up higher. If I'm a little bit arched down there, I can get more into the sort of big belly of my butt, meaning these big part where for me that tends to get tight, especially if I do the things that I do. I get a little tight here in my hips. So then if that gets tight, that pulls on my lower back. And actually walking, which I do every morning, and I went out for a walk this morning, walking can tighten up my back. I need to stretch it out. I need to roll around on the floor again afterwards. Might be different for you. Everybody is different. And every day is a different day in your body. So really let it be whatever it is for you at any given time without thinking it should be a different way. Just letting it be whatever it is. All right, let's come in and let's let's rub our hands together, and then just hands on your face. Give yourself a face rub any way that feels good. Not so hard that you're really squishing your eyes or anything, but sort of gentle. I'm going with the whole sort of plate of a hand. And I'm going to get into my hair, do the 10 little dragons running through the forest, just waking up my cranium, my hair follicles, all that stuff. And if there's anything kind of stuck in there, I'm inviting it in through movement, right? Moving with my hands, inviting it to move so the stuckness can free up. So there's a lot of, we can hold little tension patterns all over the place, right? So just inviting that to soften up. When you feel like you've done it enough, open your arms and turn your head gently from side to side, looking one way and then looking the other. But when you're looking one way or the other, think of allowing the room to come into your eyes, or the space around you just comes in. It's no effort to see at all. It's so easy letting just, and maybe that doesn't mean you have perfect vision and you can see everything perfectly, but whatever's coming into your eyes, it's not a strain, it's easy. And as you're turning your head from side to side, the brainstem is getting this mobility, this movement, and letting you know that everything is safe. You don't need to worry. You are going to not be attacked by a saber-toothed tiger right now. So let's go with hands behind your head, one elbow in, crossing over and touching, and then the other side. You can do this slow or fast, whatever feels good to you. I'm in a kind of slower mode right now. The caffeine hasn't totally kicked in. I only had part of my coffee. It's good to take our exercises at different tempos sometimes, so that sometimes you're doing it much slower, sometimes you're doing it much faster, and feeling into what's different when you do it slower. What do you notice, right? A lot more space for awareness when we're moving slower. Keeping going a little bit longer. Last one, and relax. Yeah, so when we're holding tension, that sort of masks sensation, right? Tension is a blocker to awareness. So if we start to soften that a little bit, soften that, the gripping, so that we can actually feel what's going on. Like, oh, when I shift, like I can feel different patterns in my body. So let's just do that for a second. Free up your head tail connection. Let it be jiggly and loose so we can shake out like a dog shaking water off after they come out of the water. Oh, they love to do that, right? That shake, 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 letting things go. I'm just imagining that whatever you're shaking out, any kind of tension, any kind of holding, any kind of gripping, any kind of yucko that you want to get rid of. And then let's take our block. If you have a block, if you don't have a block, no big deal. Now you can see my knees, block between the knees, feet down on the floor. We're going to lift our pelvis up and circle as big or small as you feel, as feels good in your body. Circling around, using your breath. And change direction, go the other way. Feeling into your back, feeling the head tail connection. Let your head, it doesn't have to be rigidly staring at the ceiling. So as the bigger I circle, the more my head wants to kind of move away from the circle of my pelvis. So listen into your body and allow it to do what feels good. And then come in and roll it down through your spine. Take the block out. Let's take the knees in and make big circles, lubricating up. Again, lubricating up that hip socket. I'm going to take my head off the floor as I come up. So head is going to go down to the floor and then coming up, looking towards my knees, circling those legs, but getting all the fascia in our body to mobilize, right? Change direction. We are one whole living creature, dynamic process, right? As we're living, everything is shifting and changing within our bodies all the time, even if it's just at a tiny little level. So we can have that shift and change really be something that's moving towards health and healing, or it can be sort of stagnation or disease. Moving is going to help us shift into a healthier pattern generally. If we're addicted to moving and like, which I certainly am, if we're not getting enough nourishment, then that can be problematic. Like anything good for you can also be can be a problem. All right, happy baby, but you want to like take it in, listen to your body, breathe, and just notice what your intention is with your body, right? I'm moving towards health because it feels good and I want to feel healthy, as opposed to, oh, I need to make my ass really tiny or something like that. Like, are we forcing ourselves on our body, or are we in participation with our body? Like, my ass already is really tiny. Wouldn't mind if it was a little bigger, but you know what? It is what it is. It's totally acceptable and fine for my living condition. Let's go from side to side, rock it out, massage out your back. All of these ideas about what our body should look like are cultural impositions or familial impositions, or, whatever, even political impositions. But what our body should feel like, that we don't talk about that so much. So tuning into that, how does it feel? Internal rotation, one leg at a time. And when we work out a lot, or where we do things a lot with our body, we're going to be in a deeper relationship. We will feel more things, right? We will be more aware of what is going on. Let's come into center. If we're, just making more tension in our body, we are not necessarily going to be feeling more things. But if we're working in a harmonious manner with the best friend that we have, that is our own body, that we're in relationship with our whole lives, right? As long as we're alive, we are going to be together with this body. Open it out into a big X. We're going to exhale, coming up, and inhale. Contralateral movement, cross body movement, coming up and open out. Exhale, inhale, open, bringing it in, radiating outward, coming into center, radiate to the edges. So bring this awareness. We have this core distal pattern, right? We're coming into center and then we're radiating out, fingers and toes reaching far away. Exhale up, inhale down. You can leave your head on the floor for this. Often I like leaving my head on the floor, but today it feels good to come up. So up to you. Reach it out, coming in towards center, radiating away from center. Bringing it in, reaching it out. Can you have the same intention or the same energetic level of attention to the coming in as you have to the coming out, or vice versa, right? Can we have the same awareness here as we have here? Or the same amount? I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just babbling. Okay, let's take it into a heel rock on the diagonal. So this heel rock, you're going to rock one heel and you're trying to get that to move up to that opposite hand so that there's this rocking pattern on the diagonal. And you can try it on the other side. If you have socks on and you're on a slippery floor, it's not going to work very well. This works better with like naked heels on a wood floor, or socks on the mat is also fine. But I want to have it wider than your mat. So the chances are your heels are, so we're trying to get that diagonal pattern moving through. Good, coming in, try both at the same time. Let that move up all the way to your head, through your fingertips, creating this undulation, this wave pattern, free flow, flowing up through your body. Letting your neck, jaw, and tongue relax. And then we're going to come back to a more organized pattern, coming up the center and then opening it out. So I'm meeting a hand and foot right in front of my midline, up and out, opening it up. Exhale, inhale, open. This time I'm going to leave my head on the floor and I'm going to focus on that center point right out in front of me, where I am connecting my hand and foot, connecting in, radiating out, connecting in, radiating out. in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. Let's do another one here. You're going to take, if you have the space, you're going to take one foot, you're going to slide it across, and you're just going to keep reaching it, reaching it, reaching it, reaching it until you kind of roll onto your side, almost onto your belly. Then you're going to take your hand, pull back, pull back, pull back, pull back until it flops you back open onto your back. So the other leg comes across close to the floor. It's pulling. It's as somebody's pulling your toes, reaching, 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 reaching. You can come almost onto your belly and then reach with that hand, pull away and bring it back. So we're getting this spiral through our body. An X roll. This is called an X roll. If we were in a big studio, we could just keep sort of flipping along doing this. We can initiate with our toe, reaching across, pulling, 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 finding that nice twist through the body. If you have the space, you want to take it all the way onto your stomach, go, and then coming back, let's do it with the foot. Foot is going to radiate back the bottom of the body is going to adjust, and we come on side. Pull, pull, pull. Find it coming all the way on. Bottom of the body is going to adjust. Toes pull, pull, pull. Adjust and bring it back. We could do those with our hands. Let's just do one hand at a time. So hand is going to come in. We're going to do this connect chain, curling your fingertips through the wrist, down to your chest. Then it's going to travel up along the other arm. Reach, 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 reach. And I'm going to pull with my foot to come back. I'm not going to flop all the way over just because there's not that much space in here. Coming down into my chest and then sliding up the other arm. I'm looking up there and I'm reaching away, and then I'm going to reach with the opposite foot, pull back and bring myself down. So that's going to really affect, if we can do this in this sort of kinetic chain of movement where it's moving, we could say joint by joint, but we could also say like part of your body by part of your body. You're going to just affect that tissue in your pelvis in a really different way than if I go with my hands and then I push with my pelvis and roll, right? So I'll show you the way that the push where I'm just rolling into my side, as opposed to going with my hands, spiraling, 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 spiraling until that pulls me onto my side and then foot pulls me back. So it's like I'm having this big spiral through my body like this. All right, enough of that. Let's do a little bit more mobility stuff. I was doing this in my class at the gym, and that is you're going to come onto your back. Let's just roll side to side first. Rolling onto one side, massaging across your back. Let your head drop into the floor, rolling onto the other side, letting your tissue draw down to the ground. And we're just yielding into the floor. So we're not fighting with it. We are relaxing into it. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over onto our side and then turn and start to come up. And we're going to soften back down into the floor, roll across our back, coming onto our side. You can even push the floor away to come up, taking it back down, rolling across your back onto your side and coming up, down into the floor, rolling across the floor and come up. This could be very slow, or you could go faster, really up to you, taking your time, pouring your body from one side to the other, and then gently coming up and coming back down, pouring yourself into the floor. So I am using my hands right now and just letting that be part of the flow. You could also do it with no hands, where you come over and then you come up, or you come down with no hands. Just a little bit more active, right? That's a little bit harder. But if you can start to find ways of getting up and getting down in these ways without using your arms, actually, this is one of the ways they test like people's health and longevity is, can you get up and down off the floor easily, right? Is it a struggle or is it no problem? So let's do another mobility exercise for that type of thing, which is going to be, you're going to do the knee drop, cross your foot over, and we're just going to go into a little arch and spiral. And then butt comes down. We fold in the hips, the arms circle around. You change legs, coming up, arching and opening, circling it down, coming around, crossing your foot over, up into a little bit of a back bend, and pelvis is going forward, right? We're getting that forward pelvic shift. Here is an arm circle. We're lifting up, opening up, taking into that back bend, circling around and down. One more time each side. Then we're going to change it again. Okay, so that was like using our hand to really push. This time we're going to go knee drop onto your side and reach forward. You can push off the back hand on the floor, coming through, reaching forward, down onto your butt, coming through, reaching forward. If you have knee issues and this is hurting your knees, don't do it. This might be a good time to just do a hip stretch or I'm breaking all the rules and keep changing what I'm doing because I'm playing with it. So seeing how it is for you, right? I have a lot of padding under me, so this doesn't hurt my knees at all. But yeah, we can have these patterns of figuring out how to get around, to get up, to get down without using our arms. Like there's different ways, right? And that's all that leg strength. All right, let's let that go and come onto our backs again. We are going to go into big open stretch, legs out, side, circle your feet, circle your ankles. You can hold on or not, change direction. And we're gonna do, I'll show it this way. So what we're gonna do is from that position, you're just gonna bend one knee towards your armpit and then the other. So like the knee's coming up and your whole, like it's like you're ringing the bell of your pelvis one way and then the other. You can add flexed feet or pointed feet, doesn't matter. Just opening out, freeing up the lower back, getting the stretch through the inner thighs, freeing up the spine, moving through it. Right, so it could look like this. Your legs could be way up here and you're just kind of babying the legs. And I don't mean being a baby. Well, I do. I mean acting like how babies learn how to move just by moving, right? So giving yourself a chance to learn some different patterning. And then release that. And we're going to internally rotate one leg at a time, spiraling in. And then the other leg. So a lot of the stuff that we're doing today is really about that joint health of the hip socket, femur head coming up into your pelvis. And all the tissue that is related to that, right? All of this stuff is interrelated, even in our torsos, in our guts. All right, coming back in. Let's do, I'm going to do another thing up. But so pelvis very high. Here we're going to lift our heels, lower our heels, knees towards each other's, knees away, come to center. Heels up, heels down, knees together, knees open, center. Heels up, heels down, knees together, knees open, center. Heels up, heels down, knees together, knees open, center. Heels up, heels down, knees towards each other, knees apart, center, heels up, heels down, knees together, knees open, bring it in. Last one, up, down, turn it in, turn it out, center, roll down through your spine, vertebra by vertebra. Take your time, slow, easy, melt into the floor. When you get down there, take a heel rock. Well, not really a heel rock, but maybe it's a heel rock. Just letting your spine free up. You can push with your feet, arch and curl, send this rippling wave up and down through your torso. Relax your belly, relax your guts. So instead of like thinking, my muscles have to do all the work, think of letting the water in your body inform the movement. So it's not my muscles are making this wave, which they can do, but that's a lot of work. I can also just let the wave happen by releasing the muscles, releasing the spine. I'm kind of pushing and pulling with my feet. So there is some muscle work, but it's not the muscle work of my belly doing that, right? My belly can do that, but that's a lot more constricted. I can also let it just happen without constricting. So maybe going back and forth between playing with those patterns for a second where you're doing it with your muscles, and then you're kind of pushing and letting that release, pushing with your feet and creating more of a sense of free flow, right? Letting go, shake it all out. And let's flip over onto our, let's go onto our sides. Coming down onto your side, we're gonna keep with the hips and this whole hips and legs. I like to think hips, legs, and guts because all of that they're all related. Like if my leg is going out and back, I'm getting a stretch here in the front of my organs, right? So let's work for that. You're going to take your knee into your chest and reach back behind you. Knee into your chest, reach back. Feel it opening up and mobilizing in your guts a little bit, right? We don't want, especially our intestines, to be all like rigid and blocked. We want movement through there, right? Or our reproductive organs, right? We want them also to have freedom. Even if they're no longer in reproduction mode, there's still value in there. Value. It's so capitalist to talk about our body in this way. In and out, reach. 4 more. 3. Give yourself a chance to really feel that. 2. Yeah, I feel that completely across the front of, and I'm not trying to like feel my abs or my muscles working. I'm trying to feel my organs having some mobility and some movement. All right, pointing your toes in the back space, circles behind you. And then flex and change direction. And then bend your knees and take it back, opening the front of the hip flexor, opening the front of the quad. So even as I'm in my stretch, I'm kind of micro moving with it. I'm feeling into it, making tiny little adjustments, little mobility, just so that it's not like the inside is like, but it's doing kind of this, right? There's more aliveness in there. And then release that. And let's roll over onto our backs. Cross your ankle over your knee and just let it drop down to one side and then drop down to the other. So really relaxed and easy, taking the tension out of your body as much as you can, letting go, making it 5% easier, 2% easier to be in your body, 2% less tension, or maybe it's 20% less tension, who knows? Coming in and then drawing it in towards you, breathing into it. Let go. Optional, straighten the bottom leg, really listening into your body. What does it need right now? Yeah, my body's like, my leg is kind of like, I did enough of that. I don't need to do more. The tissue needs to soften and release. I don't need to stretch it out more right now. So you may be like that, or it might be different for you. I'm just going to come onto my butt and roll across from one side to the other. And as I'm doing this roll, I'm going to let my body move a little so I get some shear, right? So the sort of big, they're not plates at all, but we could think of them as like tectonic plates shifting, like the big bones of my pelvis and then all of the muscles underneath, because especially this side, that's the one we just worked, is like, whoa. And now just do the other one for equal opportunity. You've done one, do the other before we get down there. Just mobilizing that tissue by moving around over it, using the floor as your massage therapist. All right, let's take it onto the other side. Taking it down, and the same thing here. So knee is coming in and then reaching out and away. Knee in, kick it back, opening at the front of the abdominals, but the organs, your psoas, which is deep inside. Some people think your psoas is right here. It's not. It's deep inside. It's connecting to your lesser trochanter, the top inner knob of your femur head, which is deep in there. And then it's coming in up the inside next to your spine. And at certain places, it is really kind of big and chunky. It's the filet mignon of your body. Chunky isn't the word. Big and juicy. Medallions. Anyway, we're just letting that have some mobility. We're not trying to make it harder, right? We do not need more rigidity next to our spine. We need more fluidity. 4 more. 3, 2, last one. Circles in the back space, pointed toes, and then flex and change direction. Yeah, let that stretching through the front of your body, and then bend your knee and take it back. And again, you can do a little micro movement in there as you're adjusting for the stretch. Really tuning into sensation in your own body. So working out shouldn't be an opportunity to just space out and follow along with what somebody else is doing or saying. It should be an opportunity to really tuning into sensation, really fine tuning your awareness within your own body. And then coming onto our backs, crossing it over, letting it fall one way and then the other. Relaxed and easy. Freedom in your spine, fluidity in your body, massaging through the hips and the lower back as you roll from side to side, taking out the tension, allowing your body to have movement, allowing it to happen. And then when you're ready, draw it in towards you, straightening or not. Yeah, so my 2 hips feel very different today. And the right one needed more sort of release, and the left one's kind of like, oh yeah, the stretch is fine. This is good. I'm good here. So yeah, so stretching isn't always really releasing. It's pulling a muscle longer. That's kind of an active thing. Releasing is being in the middle and letting it go, letting the muscles come to neutral and soft and soft, like, so that the resting tone isn't all gripped, but there's life force and flow able to move through there. All right, let's go back up one more time here. If you can touch your heels, or, I mean, I guess you could grab your ankles, but I think I'd rather just have you walk your shoulders close together and interlace your hands behind your back and press up here. We're going to do the same thing we did before, but the arms are in a different place. So you're going to lift and lower, knees towards each other, knees open into parallel, lift, lower, knees closed, knees open, parallel, lift, lower, close, 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 open, and then release your hands, open wide. Feel your shoulders really wide, fingertips radiating out, energy from arm to arm, and then slowly soften through the rib cage and lungs, melting yourself back down into the floor, easy and loose. And when you get to the bottom, again, little rock, ripple, mobilize, letting go, letting your body become very fluid and easy. And then we can roll onto our sides and come up, and we're going to flip onto, let's go to elbows and knees. Let me just look at the time. This is one of those days where, I don't know, I'm in a different sort of state of time, not a different state of mind, a different state of time. Curling your toes under, arch, and then taps the feet to the floor. Curl. If you want to, you could try picking up your knees, drop the knees down, arch and open, tops of the feet to the floor, curl, optional round and lift, really up to you. Arching, curling. Depending on how your feet are feeling, you can also take your weight back in that when the toes are curled under to go forward, up and down. If that feels good, don't do it if it hurts. The other option is just to stay here. Like you're getting ready to spring. All right, let's take it into a right leg out behind you, kicking up and down, going 1, 2, 3, 4, long leg, opening that front of the belly again, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switch it to the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Taking it into a forearm plank, pushing forward and backward, head forward, heels back, butt right there in the middle. And take it down to the floor. Melt, check out your floor, consider vacuuming. At least that's what I'm doing right now. Rolling your butt from side to side. Tops the feet on the floor, open the arms out. Let's go, you're gonna go palms up and then palms up. So you're spiraling, hands, palms up in the back, palms up in the front. This could have a little rock, depending on if you feel like doing that or not. Oh, it's the closest thing to the swan that I do. And I don't know. I don't know that I like that much. Sometimes it's fun, but definitely not a favorite. All right, let's put the arms out to the sides. You're going to spiral in and spiral out. Spiral in, spiral out. Spiral in, spiral out. Spiral in, spiral out. Hands next to your chest, arching and opening, and release it down. Head lifts you up, push into the floor, and soften back down. Kinetic change. So starting even with your eyes and nose looking up, letting that lift you up, and then taking it back down vertebra by vertebra or belly by belly. Last one. Taking it into a child's pose. Breathe in your child's pose. Yeah, I think the vacuuming thing definitely has to happen in here. The thing with 3 cats, you got to vacuum a lot. And every time I vacuum, it's like, oh, I just vacuumed up a whole cat in my vacuum cleaner. Reaching one arm, reaching the other. Let yourself do that cat scrabbling thing. Let that come all the way into your ribcage, lungs, heart, diaphragm. One side of the body and then the other, creating this fluidity just by reaching out and reaching out. And then coming in, softening, rolling it up. So I am talking about like keeping it fluid and moving. It doesn't mean I don't want to do strength building exercises as well. Like we need to do it all. It's just that fitness and wellness has been so rigidly core strength that we've become very constricted as movers often. And we want to have freedom with that as well. So we're not just battening it down, but we're also finding expansion and flow. All right, let's come back in. It could be a forearm plank or a side plank. Oh, sorry, a forearm plank or a hands on the floor plank. I'm doing hands, but feel free to do forearms if that feels better. We're going to come into our plank, shift it into a side plank, back to the regular, shift it to the side. Like you're rolling your body like a log in the water. I'm going to take it down and do some down in my forearm plank. Breath flow happening. Good. Let's take it all the way down to the floor. Bend your knees, let your legs fall from side to side. Relax your butt, wag your tail, relax your quads. We're going to grab on to both legs and just lift up. Once you get there, you're going to inhale, knees open, exhale, close. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. One more. Inhale, exhale. Relax it down. Take your hands next to your chest. Oh, what am I hitting? I'm hitting the plant. Arch up, take it back into your child's pose. This time in your child's pose, interlace your hands out in front of yourself, roll it up to the crown of your head, rounding your spine, roll it down, rounding and curling, and then just lengthening it out. Round and curl, lengthen it out. One more. And release, shift your weight back, come up. Let's bring the legs out in front and take a forward fold. Do just a little bit of stretching to finish things off. So walking your butt from side to side, taking it into a forward fold, breathe into it. Again, sometimes like we think of static stretching, we're just staying still. Let your static stretching not be entirely static. Let yourself have a little bit of mobility in there. Not a whole lot of bouncing, but kind of like that cat thing, what they do with their paws. Same sort of energy in your body, just wiggling into your stretch, letting things mobilize a little bit, freeing up the inner sense of aliveness so that we're not just dropping into the stuff and forcing, but we're alive, moving with our bodies. And then rolling it up. Let's open up into a big straddle. And we're going to arch and curl, soften. I'm staying fairly vertical in my spine. I'll go forward in a minute. Arch and curl. You can also do this lifting from the back. So if you're tighter, you can just lift yourself up out of it. Arch and curl. Last one. Arch. And let's take this down wherever you can go with that stretch. Breathing into it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm here down on the floor and I'm really feeling the coolness down here next to the ground compared to up there. Just noticing whatever you notice. Breathing, wiggling or not. Yeah, so let me just talk a little bit more about what that wiggling is doing. And on the level of our fascia, like we have some of the fascia, it's like this big bandy stuff. Something like the superficial fascia is kind of like corn on the cob. And it's what most people are like, but it's like the fatty layer with the fascia inside. And it is like, it can melt and soften and be very fluid, right? If we heat ourselves up, or it can be like harder if we're really cold. But when I'm talking about that micro movement, like there's these different layers, like even underneath, there's sort of this filmy fascia, which can be really like, it looks like clouds or like cobwebs. And it is partly the fibrousness of our body. There's the fiber in there, but it's also very fluid. And some of that fluid is kind of gel-like, some of it's more liquid. Like, so some of it's kind of like gelatin or aspic, but that aspic, that gelatin in our bodies is really stable. It's really integrated and integral. But when we move and we allow some sliding surfaces to have a better relationship, we get less adhesed inside. So it's not like stuck together like the pancakes that have been stuck together and now they're not going to move anymore. Like we want that to have these sliding greased up surfaces, and it's happening in a really three-dimensional way through our body. It's around our organs. It's, in our joints. There's all these different layers, and some of them are really, they're often like cross-hatched. So some are going one way while another one's going another way, but they aren't just like straight, rigid, linear things. They're very alive and fluid, like sea creatures. So yeah, so when we move a little bit in our stretches, we're letting that have like almost like the interior of a sponge, letting the water inside readjust, the fluidity readjust. Let's come to a hip stretch and just release into that, breathing into it, letting go. Surrender, soften. If it feels good to free up the spine, free up the spine. So our nervous system is routed from our brain down through our spinal cord out to our body, right, to all the parts, out to the very edges. Most of the time, our nerves are bundled with our vascular system. Our cardiovascular system is moving right along with them. Our lymph is going out there too and coming back, and it's like going out and coming in through that, along the same sort of pathways. And all this movement just encourages that relationship to be healthier. The relationship of our systems. Good. Undo it, unscramble, bang it up and down, rotate in and out, switch it to the other side. Yeah. All of them are working together, right? We are one whole body, not a bunch of different bodies in different places. Like, we are all one system working together with ourselves. So even our thoughts are affecting the way that we exist, the ease or the tension that we're holding in the world. Breathing into it, letting go, finding some movement, finding some internal freedom, freeing up that central channel, giving yourself more space. And then coming up and unscrambling. Give your legs a little bang, rotate in and out, free it up so the tissue becomes soft again. It's neither stretched nor engaged, it's soft. And then we'll come in and take your knees towards the floor, heels towards the floor, rolling forward and backward in that squat. If possible, touch down. If you can't, don't worry. And if your knees hurt, then just straighten your legs more and let yourself shift your weight forward and backward here. And then taking it up to stand on your feet. Feel yourself shifting from side to side. Free up the spine again, tail to head, rippling through. Let your shoulder blades be free. Let your head totally drop down. Neck relaxed, soften. Feel into the floor. And then come in, roll it all the way up through your spine, coming all the way up to the top. Inhale, open, feeling into your body now, feeling what it feels like in comparison to when you started. Shake it out. Letting go of anything stuck in there. Oh, feel the heat in the top of the room. Exhale, release, release, release. And one more deep breath in. Let it go. All right, people in TV land, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you are really following my stuff, then maybe become a subscriber, a Patreon, or buy